What's up, everybody? I wanted to go live this morning with a double mega review, Rampage and Smackdown, but it's really early, so I didn't know how the algorithm would play out at 6:30 in the morning. Would the video really get pushed out? Would the live stream really reach people's boxes? So we're gonna go straight video format, man. And we don't have a ton of time anyway. So when I tell you guys we'll be here for a half an hour, on a live stream especially, it turns into 2 hours later. So we'll try to do both of these reviews in a decent amount of time so you guys can go about your day and hit up your weekend, man. BC doesn't want to keep you tied down for the entire weekend. I know you got things to do. We'll get to Rampage in a little bit. It wasn't the most eventful or thrilling show for AEW, but is very strategic for Tony Khan. A lot of fans were kind of left underwhelmed after last night, but it was strategic, and I'm going to explain why when we get to the Rampage review. And again, that was on right after WWE Smackdown, and that was taped, so it's going to be interesting to see the number on that. Not only was it the most thrilling of shows, but it was taped, so a lot of people did find out the info beforehand. Might be a significant drop, man. Hopefully the suspense, with all the buzz that AEW has created, hopefully that suspense has garnered them at least an even keel number from last week. But something tells me there could be a drop in that number for many reasons. So that's another reason why what Tony Khan did last night, how strategic it was actually the right decision, and it probably saved them from a very significant drop in numbers. We'll get to that when we get over to Rampage. I want to start off with Smackdown. This was September 10th, 2021. We had a hot open with the Bloodline, middle of the ring, Roman, Usos, Heyman. Roman says WWE is running NYC. That was a strategic line by WWE because they know AEW is coming into New York City, Queens, for a Grand Slam in less than 2 weeks. So WWE, they know that AEW has come in, and in just 2 years, they now control Chicago. AEW has Chicago on lockdown. So WWE now is going to go full throttle with NYC. That's a very smart move. If you're going to lose Chicago, keep New York in play. And that's what Vince is going to do. So that was a strategic delivery for Roman to say that, man. Roman says WWE runs NYC and the tribal chief runs WWE. So Roman runs New York City, is what Roman said. And he says, so New York City, acknowledge me. Bro, it was beautifully done, man. One of the best line deliveries that I've ever seen Roman deliver. Because it was so badass, bro. The way he put the emphasis on that. The way he almost looked up like he was a true god of sorts. New York City, acknowledge me. It was badass, bro. Definitely love that. The crowd, I mean, it was so badass. The crowd actually was acknowledging him, man. Huge Roman chants started to rumble through Madison Square Garden, so it was pretty cool. Brock Lesnar then hits the ring. We knew that the Beast was there in the building. Brock hits the ring. We get a mega stare down between these two beasts, Brock and Roman. And again, when we saw the tease at SummerSlam, it was the match we never thought we really needed to see, but then you kind of saw them in the ring and you were like, I want to see it. Well, this stare down kind of put the exclamation point on that, right? For most of us anyway. That was pretty fucking cool, and it got you really kind of excited to see what these two are going to do when they finally clash. Thinking about Survivor Series, I don't think that's going to last all the way to Mania. And for Extreme Rules, Roman has, let's just say there's another demon in his way for Extreme Rules before we can even get to a Beast. But this was a really cool stare down, man. Badass. Brock says, Paul, why didn't you tell Roman I'd be at SummerSlam? So the crowd starts chanting, you fucked up. And just like a minute earlier when Brock Lesnar was making his entrance and we had that stare down with Roman and the crowd was chanting, "Holy shit," this was "You fucked up" to Paul. And both times, Fox totally muted the sound out. Now, we're not even just talking muting your crowd. I mean, they just muted sound in its entirety. So for 30 seconds apiece, you just had no sound. And it really took you away from the moment that we were having, man. And you just can't do that. You have to find another way, man. Fox completely muted the sound out. It was horrible, and it just took us out of that moment. Fuck your PG shit. I understand you need to have that because you want to try to get all the kids that you're trying to market to, and that's not working out for them because the numbers are not going up, and you're driving your adults away in droves. I just put up a live stream yesterday how AEW Dynamite actually overtook WWE Raw in adults 18 to 49 demo. And they edged them out for the first time in this company's history. And they're only 2 years old, not even. And AEW has already taken the majority adults. I mean, that's not good if you're WWE. You have to kind of restructure. The kid thing is not working for you. You know, you're losing all the adults. And by the way, they can only go to an arena if the adults buy them a ticket or if an adult brings them. If you're losing adults, chances are you're going to lose a lot of kids in the process. That's business for another day. But, this was just bad, man. PG era or not. Did anyone tell Fox that WWE was going to be in MSG New York City? Did WWE forget to tell them that they were going to be in New York City? You know, expect that type of vibe, man. And they've never went into panic mode this fast on the USA Network. And I understand that's cable, and this is broadcast television. But as bad as we thought things were on USA, they never went into this type of panic mode. So I had to spend an extra minute on that because it really took BC away from what was an epic moment at the time. And I was like, dude, put the sound on. What are you doing? Just mute the fucking crowd like you've been doing, right? I mean, they've been muting the crowd anyway. Confiscating signs that they don't like, muting the crowd, piping in noise. And now Fox is just like, no, we ain't even going to give them a chance. We're going to silence the sound. I just can't stand that, man. It pisses me off, bro. It really does. But I digress. Moving on. Roman and the Usos leave the ring upset that Paul was playing both sides because Paul didn't have an answer for Brock as to why not tell Roman that Brock was there. Later in the night, Roman asked Paul. And Paul still didn't have an answer for Roman either. It was like he was playing both sides. This is beautiful. Textbook, Paul Heyman 101. So again, the Roman and the Usos leave the ring because Paul was playing both sides. It was pretty evident. And then Brock tells Paul, before Roman fires your ass, you got 5 seconds to give me a title match for Roman and that title. And I love how Paul didn't actually give him that. I mean, he was willing to take an F5, but he was not going to give up Roman on a silver platter. Not that easy. It's like he was still going to play those sides, man. I really do like that, man. Brock tells Paul he's got the 5 seconds to grant him the title match. The 5 seconds comes to its max capacity, and Brock scoops Heyman up into that F5. Roman reappears to save Paul? Or is it more so Paul can't say, all right, you got the title match? Later in the night, Roman says, I saved you, Paul, 3 times. But we know deep down, Roman was actually saving his own ass, his title in the process. So when Brock scoops Heyman up into that F5, Roman reappears, delivers that Superman punch. The Usos then deliver double super kicks. Now, Brock doesn't no-sell it, but he shakes it off really quick. And he delivers a thunderous double clothesline to both Jimmy and Jey Uso. Pretty badass, man. This was Brock at his max capacity, at his best. Roman escapes, and we exit the segment. So, pretty well done, man. Everything in this whole opening was just beautifully done. It just was. And for a WWE product these days, that doesn't always happen. In fact, very few and far in between can we pick a segment that was just beautifully done from top to bottom. The only thing that took us out from this hot open was, again, we're really upset that they totally silenced the sound for some crowd chants. I mean, it's 2021. Almost everything is acceptable these days, but the crowd can't say some words. Holy shit, you fucked up. Mute it out a little bit. It's what WWE's been doing. You ain't gotta silence it because you're literally taking people out of the moment at that point. Not only on Raw is Vince having the crowd muted, but on Fox for SmackDown, they're completely muting the sound. The crowd literally has no voice anymore in WWE. That's not good, guys. I'm gonna say that again. The crowd literally has no voice in WWE anymore. If WWE thinks you should be saying something, they're piping in noise, making it look like the crowd is saying something. If they don't like what you're saying, they're muting the crowd out. And now they're just silencing the sound. I mean, they literally are manipulating every aspect of the crowd. I don't like that because in pro wrestling, that is very much needed. It's a part of the show, the crowd, the audience, the vibe, that feeling. It's all a part of the show. When you start taking that away, you start putting cracks into the whole wrestling game. Not good. I hope that gets corrected. I know a lot of people are going to be telling Fox how they felt about last night, man. So hopefully that gets fixed. PG era or not, you can't do that on live television, man. You see in the NBA or the NFL or any other sport division league, you know, every now and again you hear a player drop an F-bomb or something like that. They don't mute it out. Half the time they don't even apologize for it. The commentators just, hey, it's sports. This is live. And if they do apologize, that's what they say. It's live television, folks. Expect anything. Well, this is live television. It's not the performers saying that. It's the crowd. Anyway, I know I'm getting kind of hung up on that, but anybody that saw the show last night, man, it just took us away from what was a really epic moment. But still, I digress. What a hot open for SmackDown, man. And the Madison Square Garden crowd, man, they stayed hyped for the entire show. So again, it looks like the lines have been drawn. AEW pretty much has Chicago as home base, and WWE's over there, as always, with New York City as its home base. New York City has always loved its WWE. It's going to be really interesting to see in less than 2 weeks when Grand Slam comes in for AEW, how New York City is going to treat this organization. It's going to be fun. Let me get a swig of coffee. We'll continue on. I believe that was a Schmaz 10-man tag when we continue. Give me a second. All right, that was a few swigs. As we continue on with hour number one, we get a signature WWE 10-man tag schmaz match. Big E, Nakamura, Rick Boogs, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio versus Sami Zayn, Commander Sneeze, Apollo, Otis, Dolph Ziggler. We got 1 minute of wrestling, and then we went right to commercial, where we all found out what the new NXT Rainbow brand is going to be called. And it's going to be called NXT 2.0. Now on this channel we love 2.0, not just over at AEW, but BC 2.0, old school. This 2.0, I'm pretty sure most of us can do without. The original NXT was working just fine. You just gotta get back to your roots. Instead of getting back to their roots, they're gonna totally go 180, switch directions, and make this all bubbly and rainbow-filled and WWE for kids. So they're just not learning their lessons, man. And now it's NXT 2.0. The logo is all fucking... It's rainbow bright. It's almost like, remember the AEW Dynamite logo? They still use it where it's all these colors are popping off. I mean, it's almost like they're going there, but even more cartoonish. Anyway, you could totally tell. I mean, it is represented straight to kids. Anyway, we come back from break for this 10-man tag schmaz, and we get 3 more minutes of wrestling. Big E defeats Sami Zayn via the big ending. They had some NBA shit there as well. It's Madison Square Garden, so they had Sami Zayn dressed up in a New York Knicks jersey. As a huge New York Knicks fan myself, shameless plug that was not needed. Come on, man. You can play the crowd all you want, man. We know a tried and true New York Knickerbocker and one that is not. So BC was not buying that. And then they had an Atlanta Hawks player was there. Fucking, it was just every sense of the word of schmaz. This match had it. In 4 minutes of wrestling for 10 wrestlers. I'm going to say that again. 10 professional wrestlers in a 4-minute match. How is anybody okay with that is beyond me. And that's why I call these schmaz matches. You're going to see a lot of wrestlers. The match is not going to be long at all. It's going to be a circus sideshow. Everybody is not going to sell like they properly would because you have to constantly set up for the next spot. Not just yours, but somebody else. It's a spot fest. And you can't sell properly. There's so many bodies. It's like everybody's a ping pong ball. I can't stand these type of matches. It's not pro wrestling. And, well, maybe it is today, man. Maybe it's an aspect I'll never get behind, but other people might like. In AEW, they call it Trios Division. This is Trios Division Plus. This is a 10-man fucking schmaz. I can't stand 6-man schmazes. Anyway, can you tell I was not behind this? Big E cut a good, really good promo afterwards. Just talking about maybe he'll show up on Raw, maybe he'll just keep poking around SmackDown, but whenever he chooses to cash in that briefcase, you'll know. And it doesn't matter which brand. Wherever he wants to go. So it was a good promo by Big E. The problem was, the promo by Big E post-match lasted nearly as long as the entire 10-man schmaz match itself. Again, how is BC the only one finding this to be a problem? It's those little details, guys, that are not so little in the long run. Sometimes, most of the time, the little details matter just as much as those big motherfuckers. I digress. Moving on, please. Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, the man, decided to come around. It was a contract signing for Extreme Rules. A rematch, I guess you could say, from SummerSlam, even though that was just Becky Lynch coming back and making Bianca Belair look like a fucking fool. Beating the bestest, smartest, strongest, the everything-ist. And in 26 seconds, which felt like 6 seconds tops, she was flat on her back looking up at the lights from one move, the manhandle slam. Well, that doesn't come across as you're the strongest or the smartest or the baddest then. It made Bianca Belair look so bad, and I don't even blame Becky, I blame Vince McMahon. He's the one who wanted this done from the jump. Anyway, back to this contract signing. Bex is out there in an Eva Marie fur coat, clearly back copying Conor McGregor, right? I mean, this is like if Eva Marie and Conor McGregor had a kid, it would be Bex, the way she came out last night. But I gotta give Lynch credit, man. The official heel turn was made last night as Bex took jabs at the crowd and finally blew up, saying, and I quote, "I left my baby girl at home just so you all can cheer for a flash in the pan like Bianca." She also said, "I sat at home while all of you chanted Becky, and I come back and this is how you treat me. This is how I get treated." It was actually well done. Basic. And again, I mean, there's a lot of times where wrestling fans are fickle to the highest levels. I mean, I sat around for months and months while Bray Wyatt was literally the #1 merchandise seller in WWE, the highest viewed videos on the tube, his segments for Raw, the highest rated on otherwise a shitty show, the most buzz, the most captivated, social media highest numbers, and yet there was people on this very platform even that just degraded and berated the guy. There was lists by certain people in the community saying that he was the worst character, even in a year with Retribution, but somehow The Fiend's the worst when numbers-wise he was the best. But there was fans that followed these people and their lists, and then when he gets released, everybody starts talking about how great Bray Wyatt and The Fiend is. They stopped the trash talking and the garbage. And now all of a sudden everybody's behind him. I mean, that's just one of many cases I can give you of fickle fans. But this is not one of those occasions. People were upset with the Becky situation because it's justified. It was rightfully so. It was a bad move on behalf of Vincent Kennedy McMahon to have somebody you've supposedly been building up for 6 months in Bianca, somebody who was in the WrestleMania main event for the title against Sasha Banks. And in 20 some odd seconds, you make her look like a circus sideshow joke. That's not good in any business endeavor, any company, no matter what you're in, to make somebody look like garbage like that, when their whole character is based around being the bestest, smartest, strongest. You can't get up over one move. It doesn't make anybody look good, let alone Bianca's character. You can't do that. You can never raise somebody up by tearing somebody else down. Bianca was done not just dirty, but filthy at SummerSlam. So yeah, this heel turn, it had to happen. It was inevitable. Vince really fucked up her return at SummerSlam, and it wasn't going to be forgotten by wrestling fans. Just wasn't. So this had to happen, and she did it the right way, man. I liked the promo. I liked the delivery by Bex. Salute. The contract was eventually signed by both for Extreme Rules, and it'll be interesting to see how they do this. I mean, guys, who loses here? There is no way they're going to really have Bex lose this match and that title, right? I mean, it's her first actual match back. And on the flip side, there's no way on planet Earth you can have Bianca Belair lose this match after what just happened to her at SummerSlam. I'll say it again. There is no way Bianca can lose this. So now WWE does what they do best. They trap themselves into their own pickle. They're stuck in a corner. There's nowhere to go. Both of these individuals cannot lose this match. Oh, this is going to be interesting, man. It's going to be one hell of a good, the bad, and the ugly review the next day after Extreme Rules. I'll tell you that much. With that, we ended hour number 1. We'll take a swig. We'll start up hour number 2. So hour number 2, we start this off with Edge versus Seth Rollins rematch from SummerSlam. Now, this was just Vince wanting a marquee match. We all know this. And this is what happens when you don't build stars. Your marquee matches are just rematches. They're just rematches. This match was so good, though. It was. To say it was solid would be an understatement. This was better than their SummerSlam bout for sure. And Vince McMahon allowed them to go over 25 minutes. This is what I mean about match time. Some people may say, well, BC, back in the day, a lot of matches were not that long. So I don't know why you need some matches to be longer, because with the talent that you have today, what they can do, especially if you're not going to have larger than life superstars. In this case, you at least have 2 superstars for sure. Edge, you may put in that league. Rollins may one day be larger than life. He's definitely a superstar. But even when you don't have stars the caliber of Rollins and Edge, then more than ever, you need to highlight what they do best, their actual wrestling, right? So when you get 2 really good wrestlers, having them in a 6, 7, 8, 9-minute match does nobody any good. Nobody wants to see Kenny Omega versus AJ Styles in a 7-minute match. They're paying money to see the classic. Rollins and Edge, or Edge and Roman, you know they can rock for over 20 minutes. Let them rock. There's no reason to give them 7 to 9 minutes. You know, back in the day, even Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter saw 20 minutes. There's times for short matches, especially if you're really trying to build somebody and you have to do a squash. I prefer that to be against a jobber, or like a real jobber, not just another superstar who's being 50-50 booked, like a Barry Horowitz. But match time, a lot of the times, man, when you have two really good wrestlers, the way to go is to give them ample time. Everybody is going to benefit. The wrestlers are going to look solid. The fans are going to get an epic fucking contest usually, and the company is going to reap the benefits. In pro wrestling today, man, you see a lot of great talent in matches that are just too short. This is what happens when you give them time. And you could say, well, BC, at the pay-per-views is when they do this, but they don't. Because I'm a numbers guy. If you look at pay-per-views and you look at all of the times on a pay-per-view, say you have a 9-match pay-per-view, I'll tell you the average match time that goes over 20 minutes is usually only 2 tops per pay-per-view. So if you have 9 matches on a pay-per-view, this is where you're supposed to be getting dream matches and epic matches and just one-on-one or tag team matches that you've been waiting to see. Only 2 of them go around 20 minutes usually. The other 7, get this statistic, it's usually 9 to 11 minutes tops. Tops! And that's a pay-per-view. I know that's a side rant. The coffee's hitting, what can I say, man? The coffee's hitting, and now I'm starting to go into numbers, statistics, and business. But for this, it was given 25 plus. This was the right decision, and what we got was such a good match. This is what I preach. Give good wrestlers good time, you'll get a good match. It's a simple philosophy. The finish was a masterpiece and a masterclass on how to tell a psychological thriller in your finish. The referee, Jess, gets roughed up for a brief moment in the corner, and it's just enough time for Rollins to get in a low blow. Beautifully done, by the way. And then not 1, not 2, but 3 super kicks to Edge's dome piece. And it was beautifully done because the last 2 were while Edge was on his knees. So the first one rocks Edge. But after 25 minutes, Edge is showing no fucking quit. He's drained. He's got nothing left. And usually this is where you will get hit by the awe-inspiring, ultra-devastating fruit roll-up. That's what WWE loves to do for their finishes. Hit him with a fruit roll-up. But no, Edge is drained, and it's going to take more than that super kick to end him. So he's out on his feet. You can tell there's nothing left. The lights are on, but nobody's home. And finally he gets dropped. And Rollins hits him with another super kick while he's on his knees, but he still will not go down. And this is what I mean about a thriller, right? This is where you tap into that, the whole psychology. This is what ring psychology is. For newer fans, you may hear that term, and this is storytelling 101. This is where you get the fans emotionally invested to another level. Edge is out. You see it in his eyes. Again, I'll use the same term. The lights are on, but nobody's home. But Rollins has to finish this somehow. He's like, fuck, what are you going to do? I'm going to have to take you the fuck out. Just quit. And on the last one, he's literally saying, why won't you quit? And he gives him a third one. And before that, the way Edge is looking at Rollins like, you son of a bitch, I ain't quitting. And he gives him a third one. And Edge still tries to get up. He's gone, but it's just something in him will just not stay down, and Rollins hits him with a devastating, monstrous stomp. And I mean monstrous stomp for the victory. And finally, Edge just can't get up. Referee Jess immediately called for medical, and they really played up Edge's surgically repaired neck like that got re-injured in the process. Edge was eventually loaded into an ambulance as Rollins was left speechless, like even he didn't know he could take it to that level. And we've seen Rollins do some dastardly deeds and things, but it was like he even was like, wow, I can't believe it came to that. And this is what I mean about everything being done. And he was left speechless at his own actions. Everything beautifully done. Where we go from here, it looks like obviously now they're 1-1. Edge took out Rollins at SummerSlam. Rollins just took him out at MSG. It looks like when Edge does come back, maybe a little bit of time off, maybe a big Survivor Series rubber match. But it's going to happen. Maybe they fast-track this to Extreme Rules. Maybe Edge is just fine, and now there's going to be a stipulation for the third match. That would make a lot of sense, too. Which, in a way, wouldn't... I mean, that's just in less than 2 weeks. So you have this big angle where this guy's neck may have been fucking re-broke again or something. And all of a sudden he comes back in less than 2 weeks. I don't know if I am on board with that. But Extreme Rules would make a lot more sense than Survivor Series. But again, maybe Vince is just trying to stack the deck. And his marquee matches are now just rematches because he's done everything else. Unless you're going to get like a Roman versus Beast, Tribal Chief versus Beast, Brock Lesnar, or a match like that. But I digress. What a fucking match. The storytelling in this motherfucker. The care that was put into it. Top notch in every way. So you mix this match with the open of the show. And at least going into the main event, you at least have to say that half this card was on point. The 10-man schmaz was the one real... I could do, if you could take it or leave it, I would leave that 10-man schmaz. Everything else on this show so far, pretty top-notch. The main event was the Smackdown Championship. Now, this is Champions Usos taking on Challenger Street Profits. This was a rematch as well. We've already went over it. This is all WWE is down to, the bare bones minimum now. They've done every match, not just once, twice, but they've done every match 116 times. So here we are again. How did we get to a title match? Well, the Profits just beat the Usos last week to get the title match. So we are now in an era of pro wrestling where, or at least WWE, where all what you have to do to get a title match is you have to beat the champions first. But is anybody in the company realizing that that's not fun for the audience? We're seeing the same match play out at the pay-per-view for what reason? I mean, shouldn't you build up both teams? I mean, the champions should be looked at as champions. And then over here, their number one contenders, the challengers at the pay-per-view, they should be built up week after week leading up to the pay-per-view. And then when you get to the pay-per-view, you have a match that everybody needs to see, not just wants to see. You have two awesome teams going for titles. Who's going to win? Nobody knows. And this is what I mean about this product is so stale. Is that now you're seeing the same matches week after week, and then you get to the pay-per-view, and it's the same fucking match. Well, this company is so bad as of late that you're not even getting the rematches at the pay-per-view. This is just happening at MSG. I digress. I can go on and on about this, man. It just boggles me that Vince McMahon will not change his ways. He's so egotistical. He's so stubborn. He's so much in his bubble. He doesn't even give a fuck to hear about what people who think logically and with common sense have to say. And that's why his numbers continue to go down. In a sophomore company, their numbers are going up. It shouldn't shock anybody, man. It's not rocket science. If you don't give a fuck about your audience, your consumer, don't wonder why your business is, numbers-wise, starting to show a lot of cracks. Main event again, this was for the SmackDown titles, the rematch from just last week. These matches would be and feel so much more special if we hadn't seen them 116 times before, much less just last week. And I say that because this was a good match. It really was, man. Lots of passion from all four of these dudes. And clearly better than their previous match last week. And that's what I mean. It was so good. Just imagine about how good it would have been and could have been had we not seen it so many times before. Just last week, for instance. It lights a fire under me, man. If people just cared more in this company, if Vince just fucking cared and thought about what he was doing more, man, this company could be so rocking, man. Anyway, we did not get a clean finish here. We didn't think we would. Roman ends up interfering and the Usos were DQ'd. And I'm all for that. because the Usos should not be dropping those titles for a hot minute. I will say that again. No way on planet Earth should the Usos have been dropping those belts last night, those championship titles. No way. So I don't care how we get to this. They need to walk out with the titles, man. The bloodline, that new Roman Empire, they all need to have that gold right now. Post-match, the Demon, Finn Balor, returned. If you follow this channel religiously, you know, man. You know I have been clamoring for 2 fucking years, basically, to have the Demon return. I like Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, whatever you want to call this guy. From New Japan to any other promotion you can think of on the indies, to WWE, to NXT, it doesn't matter. I like Finn Balor. But pop-collar, smiley, whitey-tighty Finn is just not a bona fide superstar to the masses. He has a gimmick. He has a character that is instantly a bona fide superstar. Like, just look-wise. I mean, for his height and stature, the Demon is actually larger than life. So if you have that in your back pocket, why not just use it? And for the last 2 years, basically, Balor has said, because I don't want to rest on that character. Basically, I don't want to do that. Motherfucker, I don't care. We all do things we don't want to do necessarily in life. Put on your big boy whitey tighties and put on the fucking Demon gimmick. The Demon has to fucking be there. For 2 years, you're mingling around on NXT for a year. Half the audience doesn't even know you're fucking there because they're pulling in 500,000 to 600,000 viewers tops. It was supposed to be a 2 to 3 month thing in NXT. It ends up being 9 months to a year, whatever it was. Then he comes back. They still don't have anything for him. What are you losing by just donning once more that Demon gimmick? Anyway, BC has been clamoring for this. It's an instant larger-than-life character at a time where we need characters, especially if the old bastard in Stamford, Connecticut is going to release people like the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Now more than ever, we need a Demon. Thankfully, finally, this dude saw the light. All right, I'll bring it back. Now, I know this was a lot of Vince too, but I'll fucking take it at this point, man. He likes to bring the Demon back in New York City. I remember the NXT days with Brooklyn, and then there was a SummerSlam, I believe, where Vince thought, hey, we're in New York, let's do the Demon. I think that was like against Baron Corbin, maybe, or was that Bray Wyatt? I forgot, but the Demon definitely returned on the main roster for like a SummerSlam in Brooklyn, I believe. And then last night for New York City, Madison Square Garden, Manhattan, here's the Demon again. So for some reason, Vince correlates the Demon with New York City because of past appearances. Whatever. I digress. I'm just happy it's fucking finally here. Now, here's the same problem we have with Becky Lynch and Bianca. Who the fuck loses at Extreme Rules? You are not. And I love the Demon. I just said that for 5 minutes. You are not having Roman Reigns lose this title at Extreme Rules. You're just not doing it, and it should not be happening. So the only other alternative is you're having the Demon finally come back after basically 2 years to fucking just lose his first match? You have put yourself in a pickle too. This is what I mean. Now you choose to bring back the Demon just because it was New York City. Because you put him in a spot where he has to lose. And he is undefeated on the main roster with that gimmick. I believe even in NXT, my unit once told me, I believe it's Samoa Joe was the only one to even beat the Demon. They put themselves in a pickle yet again, man. And this is just Vince not thinking things through. But it's what we got. At least the Demon's back. I hope this isn't just a one-off to lose at Extreme Rules and then we don't see him again for a year and a half. Because that's just bogus. I mean, that would be utter BS, dude. And then, so anyway, the Demon returns after basically 257 years of being gone and on a milk carton. So we finally got the D. It was a pretty cool moment, man. You start the show with Brock Lesnar pumping up that NYC crowd. The Demon fucking electrifies the crowd. You got such a good match with Edge and Rollins. Last night's Smackdown was a little better than most WWE pay-per-views. But we've always liked SmackDown way more than Raw. Raw is just, it's like they try every which way to make you more sleepy by the minute. It's like they're trying to put you to sleep with boring, regurgitated bullshit. And on SmackDown, it looks like they at least give it the old college try. So SmackDown is usually better than Raw. A lot of holes in the game still, though, but hey, man. We'll take the good from last night. Maybe they are feeling a little bit of heat from AEW. Maybe, I don't know. Vince is so far up in his little fucking bubble. I don't even know if he knows they exist, but maybe they're feeling heat. Speaking of AEW, man, I'm gonna get a big swig now, and we're gonna start Rampage's review for September 10th, 2021. Give me a sec. All right, so the show starts off for Rampage. Wasting no time, man. We get right to the action. The Bastard Pack versus Andrade kicks us off. This was a 15-minute match, and it was so good watching Andrade wrestle again and doing what he's so good at and just enjoying himself. I forgot how that felt, man. He was so amazing in NXT and completely ignored on WWE's main roster. And here in AEW, he's a wrestler again. I just can't tell you how I was watching this match and I just had that feeling of like, I'm so happy for this dude, you know? There's some reports that you know, he was kind of questioning his booking as of late, but this was a good showcase for him in there with Pac-Man for both of these dudes. That's a pretty prime spot that Tony Khan has put them in, trusting them with the opening to this still pretty brand new show. And again, yes, seeing Pac in there doing his thing is good, but if you followed Andrade's career path and just to see what happened to him in WWE, it was like, no, this is so wrong. And we could say that with so many individuals, but I mean, to see him as a wrestler again, man, and in a 1-hour show to get a 15-minute match, that's really good, man. That's solid. So, obviously this was a good match. Again, listen to who I just said was in this. Pac Andrade. Come on. Good match with Pac about to finish it. We'll go right to the finish from this, man. Pac was about to finish it with the Brutalizer, but interference from Jose and Chavo would turn Pac's fate around, and Andrade would end up picking up the W. But post-match, Andrade wasn't too happy with Chavo pretty much helping him out. So he dropped Chavo where he stood, and then Pac locked Chavo later on into the Brutalizer middle of the ring. All right, look, I dig the match. I do. As I just aforementioned. And I'm glad they were given the time, as I just aforementioned. 15 minutes on a 1-hour show. It's just damn good. That is really good. But I could have done without the extra 5 minutes of the Chavo BS. I mean, that was a lot of time to be given to Chavo just being the clown guy, the fall guy. You know, could we have done that maybe in about 30 seconds and get it done a little quicker? So that I could have done without that, man. But beggars can't be choosers. Listen, this was a solid way to start the show. A banger of a match. We'll take that any day. Again, I just felt like way too much time was given at the end to try to make, even though Pac lost this match, they tried to make him celebrate at the very end. But it was too much time, I felt, man, with Chavo just looking like a fucking jokester. I don't know, man. That was too WWE-ish for BC. But the match, damn, you can't ask for a better opening match, bro, than these two. Tony Schiavone then interviews Darby Allin and Sting. Tully Blanchard hits the ramp, talks trash, and occupies Sting attention while Darby is attacked by Shawn Spears. This is a very good bounce back match for Darby when that indeed happens. Darby taking out Spears. You know, Darby just lost to CM Punk. That had to happen, but you want to get Darby back on his winning track and ways. You have to have somebody of significance, and it's going to be Shawn Spears. And Shawn Spears getting the rub with somebody who just took on CM Punk at the last pay-per-view at All Out. Yeah, this is going to help Shawn Spears as well, even in defeat. This is what I mean, man. Running a pro wrestling company, it's all about placing the right puzzle pieces in the right spot to create the ultimate puzzle you're trying to accomplish. Tony Khan so far is doing this beautifully. A six-man or woman, if you will, schmaz match next. I told you earlier in the review for Smackdown, I just can't stand schmaz matches. I don't care who the fuck's in it. Even if it's my girl, Britt Baker, who was in this one. Britt, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. Oh, it's always a joy when we see Rebel competing. That's when you know it's going to be a banger of a match. Rebel is up in there. They took on Ruby Soho, Riho, and Chris Statlander. I can't stand six-man tags. I can't say that enough. You guys know this. It's always a spot fest circus. These ladies did good, though. They did. I just could not have been any more disinterested because it was a schmaz. Ruby wins this via the Riot Kick is what I still call it, and it's the right decision. Tony Khan played it smart last night. He made this very WWE, ex-WWE guy-centric, if you will. The show is still brand new in his existence. It is a taped show, so you're going to lose a lot of audience. So let's put some familiar faces on there. You start the show with Pac versus Andrade, and you have Ruby Riott / Ruby Soho, not just in a match, but the sole victor. At the end of the night, first of all, before you even got to the main event, you had backstage interview in segments with Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, baby. And at the end of the night, your last visual is Mox. We'll get to that in a second. But this is what Tony Khan did good last night. It was not the most thrilling episode of Rampage or any AEW show in its past, but it was strategically done. And I think Tony Khan really made this viewable for casuals. You're gonna lose a big chunk of audience because it is taped. But the fact that you are putting faces on there that people can at least identify with, you're at least giving it a try. This is something that over in WWE, man, they just curl up in a ball or bang their head on a fucking brick wall until the fucking storm has passed. It's Monday Night Football, let's just give up. It's a presidential speech, let's give up. It's a holiday, let's give up. It's just a regular day, let's give up. Tony Khan is at least going, let's put a foot forward here, man. And as far as it not being the most thrilling of shows, you can't stay on cloud nine forever. What goes up must come down at some point. So the momentum was going to kind of subside a little bit, regroup, get your breath, and now you have to utilize all of this influx of talent that you just got. As we just talked about, put those puzzle pieces in the right place. Sometimes it's okay. Take your time. Just get it right. Don't rush into things because then you'll be a train straight off the tracks. So again, it was not the most thrilling episode last night of any AEW show in its past. However, it was one of the best strategically done shows. If the numbers showcase that or not, I expect it to be a little less viewership than last week, but not by a big margin. I think they did enough to captivate, man. Just on familiar faces alone. Sometimes it's good to play that card, man. These are talents that had screen time before in another company. Sometimes it's okay to play to that strength. Ruby Riott, just one example last night with that win. The main event was Brian Pillman Jr. versus Max Caster. Every time Pillman went for a chop in this match, I have to start off with this review on this critique. Every time Pillman went for a signature chop, Caster just didn't want to take it. He would keep fucking curling up and turning away. Bro, if you're going to be a professional wrestler, you got to take chops. You're going to have to take a beating at times, man. This dude Caster, I'm not trying to throw too much shade, man. There's absolute potential, obviously, in this kid. But I don't know if he would make it back in the 60s, 70s, even 80s, bro. He does not want to take a fucking chop. There was a couple times where Pillman was trying to give him a stiff shot, make it fucking hurt around the arena, and this dude was not taking it. Stop that shit. Take a chop. Fuck, man. Or go to be something else. Be a music teacher, right? Be a fucking rapper. Anyway, Pillman wins this thing, and that's exactly what needed to happen. Build Pillman up for a future MJF match. It's the same thing I just said with Darby taking a loss to CM Punk. Now Darby has to have a bounce-back win. A semi-big win against somebody of name value. Well, Shawn Spears is a guy of name value. And Shawn Spears is a guy who's in that perfect position who is going to get a rub from a loss to somebody like Darby. So this is the story, the build, the feud will be giving Shawn Spears airtime, name recognition. Darby's got some momentum with a match he just had with CM Punk. Let's get some rub over to maybe Spears, man. And sometimes you can get victory in defeat. This is the same position here with MJF. MJF just had a big loss to Chris Jericho at All Out. He needs a bounce back win. Well, now you're going to get somebody like Brian Pillman Jr. You build him up. He's only going to get a rub from MJF in this whole storyline, this whole build. So in defeat, this is also going to be a little bit of a victory for Brian Pillman Jr., who otherwise wasn't getting that much airtime. I love this, man. It's Tony Khan placing the puzzle pieces where they need to be. It's beautiful, man. When people use logic and common sense and they make the right moves, it's like a beautiful chess match. Post-match, Pillman is jumped by Caster again in his sidekick, and Mox hits the ring for the save. That's right, Mox. And you have two Cincy boys. It was a paradigm shift, I believe, that ended Caster out. And then you had two Cincy boys. They were in Cincy, obviously. Again, this was taped, so it's Cincinnati still. And, you had Pillman Jr. and Mox playing to the home crowd, and it's just Mox, you know what I mean? I mean, this is a new show. You got two dudes in there like Caster and Brian Pillman Jr., so most people flipping through are going to be like, what the fuck? But then you see Dean Ambrose to some people, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, Tony will play that card if he needs to. So you're playing over to the home crowd. You know, Mox being in Cincinnati, but you're also like showing everyone, hey, man, we got star recognition. Listen, we're giving these kids the opportunity to main event, but you also don't forget, we got some fucking banger superstars in this motherfucking company and on this show, and here comes Mox. So Mox played a few different roles there, and I thought this was strategically placed by Khan. It was definitely a forgettable show, though. I was going to say in 2 weeks you will have forgotten anything on this show, but in all reality, yes, the Pac Andrade match was a good match, but I don't believe anybody is going back to watch this 2 or 3 times, you know? It's not going to happen. This card, this show will be forgotten in 2 weeks for most people in 1 week, and for a lot of people, truthfully, by tonight, people have already forgotten what was on the show. You know, it's just forgettable. But fun for the time being, man. And again, with so much hype and buzz for AEW and all these banger shows they've been putting on, I'm willing to give this one a little bit of a breath, man. Give it a little bit of a beat, we call it in the business. So, salute to all you guys, man, my amp unit. Thank you for another amazing week on the channel. I think we produced like 3 or 4 live streams in a row before we got to this video, which I was hoping to be another live stream, but again, it was so early in the morning. I just didn't know how that would be pumped out into subscription boxes, or who the fuck would even be awake for that. So we did it this way, and hopefully you guys kick the rest of this weekend's ass, and we'll do this all again, man. We'll start a whole new, fresh week. Who knows, man? Just stay subscribed and notified. At any moment, I could put out another banger video, so you guys know the deal. Until then, think, be, live, amplified always. And for now, coffees and ass whoopings. Check you later.